welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Angel Baby Kyra. Make sure you like and subscribe. Go follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I don't really have any more updates other than I'm still pregnant and I'm feeling nauseous like every single day. But today's video, we're going to be talking about Sephora kids and the death of the preteen or tween, because on my For You page it's been like non-stop just Sephora kids story times from like customers or from Sephora workers, yada yada yada, and everyone's like beefing with these like 10-year-olds that go into Sephora. A lot of people have very strong opinions about it, kind of polarizing opinions. Like some people are like, well, that's what happens when you don't have parenting, or when your kid is grown or your kid is raised by TikTok and the internet. And some other people are like, well, that's just kids being kids and everyone else is being dramatic. I'm gonna look at both of those things, and there's not a shortage of TikToks about these Sephora kids. Some of them are just like, well, most of them are like, get ready with me story time, and a lot of them seem very dramatic, but I do believe quite a lot of them, some of them obviously are staged or scripted, especially when they have TikToks of them being at Sephora and a kid comes up to them and is like, oh, that's not for you because you're a boy. Like, that's one of the TikToks that I've seen. Like, these 10-year-olds are part of Gen Alpha, which is already known for being iPad babies, and the iPad babies grew up. They do their makeup during like class sessions, and I feel like that's kind of also what sets people off from this generation, is that they kind of are known for not having respect for anyone, like regardless if it's their teacher, their parents, Sephora workers. They're just not a good generation to a lot of people. And like, I hate to be the like older generation that's like back in my day, because boomers and Gen X like do this to us all the time, kind of group Gen Z and millennials in the same group, even though we're like really different. There's like that whole discourse between millennials and Gen Z. Millennials are just very cringy. My partner is a millennial, but he doesn't act that way, even though I make fun of him and say that he's a boomer. However, I think the key difference is that this generation of Gen Alpha is actually self-destructing. Boomers and Gen X don't like us, millennials and Gen Z, because we talk about mental health. We try to break generational trauma. Like, most of us are very aware of politics and discourse that's going on in the world, current world events. Like, there are so many high schoolers and college kids that are always advocating for human rights, civil rights. Like, we see a lot of the kind of movements are started from our generation, I would say personally. Boomers and Gen X don't like that. They don't like us because of those things. Of course, every generation has their flaws, whatever. Every generation's gonna say the next newest generation is like demons or whatever, but I feel like that's the main reason why boomers and Gen X don't like us, because we call them out on the trauma they put on us, their toxicity, and just overall things that they never worked on in their generation because it was so hush and really couldn't talk about it in the generation. However, they do just criticize millennials for being lazy. Gen Z doesn't want to work and has zero work ethic, like almost simultaneously exchanging the two generations. This is something my mom does a lot. She still thinks that I'm a millennial when literally I tell her every time that I'm a Gen Z. There's always gonna be nuances like with this generational beef, but I feel like that's the main reason why boomers and Gen X don't like us. I feel like Gen Z primarily is the one who is talking about the Sephora kids and Gen Alpha. My baby is going to be a Gen Alpha. They're going to be born in July of 2024. They're going to be part of this. I feel like a lot of Gen Zers aren't having kids because they know and are aware of the financial cost of it, mental health wise, if they're already not doing well mentally. Also, just the state of the world. Like, a lot of Gen Z know that the state of the world is constantly just going in flames and things are always happening. Like, we're having a world crisis like literally every other week. That's what it felt like, especially in. And I think that's completely valid, you know, and I think a lot of younger people are thinking more critically and thinking more about how this will affect not only them, but like their baby and the future. So I don't know if I'm just biased towards my generation, but that's what I've noticed. Of course, like I said before, there are things about my generation that I hate. So before we talk about the Sephora kids, we need to talk about like who is raising them. And that, of course, is most likely millennials. And Gen Alpha is from the years 2010 to 2024. before. Millennials, which is most of their parents, are from 1981 to 1996, and Gen Z is 1997 to 2012. I was born in 99. And the thing that I've noticed about Gen Alpha is that they literally don't care about anything else but themselves and this hyper like individuality that they have, and that they really don't care about anything. That's what it seems like, besides themselves and what they can get, just following trends. And I know that's like with every generation follows trends, but I can't explain how Gen Alpha does it. Like their vocabulary on TikTok, which like most of them shouldn't even be on TikTok, but like they're on TikTok. Millennials, like raising their kids, every situation is different for a parent. A lot of millennials, parents in general, have to work 2 jobs, have to work 3 jobs, especially if you live in some place like LA or California. The rent is high, food is expensive, gas is insane. You're gonna have to work a lot, especially if you have more than 1 child. Even if you have one, even if you don't have children, you have to work so much to be able to survive and get rent and food and all that stuff. There's always been kids like this though. There's always been kids like this, especially like my parents, for example, Gen X, and they were considered what you call latchkey kids, which means like they had the key to the house when they came home and they had to do everything on their own pretty much without adult help, like walking home from school. They didn't get rides from school, figuring out ride arrangements if they did need a ride, making themselves food, doing their homework, being accountable for themselves, because their parents just quite literally could not do that. And especially my grandparents immigrated from the Philippines, so they had like several children. I believe half of them were in the Philippines, half of them were in the United States, and they were trying to get the rest of the kids to come over here. My mom was born here in Nebraska, not here, this is where I'm at, it's not Nebraska, and eventually came to Southern California and basically laid down roots here. They did not have time, frankly, to sit down with my mom, go over her homework with her. They didn't really stress the importance of school, but my mom knew that school was important. They also didn't have devices like Gen Alpha does. They had a TV, if you were lucky, if you were like middle class maybe, and if you did have TV, it depended on what stations you had. My mom said that she didn't have a lot of stations, saying that these kinds of kids left alone to their own devices were still around during Gen X and Boomers time. There are still those kinds of kids. There's always going to be those kinds of kids, because that's just what happens when you need to take care of family sometimes. And our economy and inflation and late stage capitalism, these parents are probably working their 2 jobs, and what replaces them? An Amex credit cards, iPads, and TikTok. So what did we think was going to happen? A lot of this can be the fault of the parents, which I feel like it is, like 90% it is the fault of the parents. But also it is due to the state of the world, like I said, late stage capitalism, and how things are marketed towards children that should not be marketed towards children. But you have like influencers that are constantly posting about how this is like what you need. Drunk Elephant, was it Glow Drops? What was the other one? These are what the kids are exposed to, literally like hours and hours a day of what they should look like, what they should have, and how to fit in, and doing all this stuff if they want to be popular, if they want people to like them. And this has always been a thing. The pressure of societal standard and wanting to fit in, be popular, has always been a thing. However, the way that it is being transferred or being absorbed by Gen Alpha is in a way that none of us have really absorbed it before, if that makes sense. Like the way that it is being delivered to us, to Gen Alpha specifically, it damages their brain. Social media in general just damages people's brains in general, mental health wise, just how you view yourself, how you view others, how you view your life, how you think you should view your life. And the average millennial answer to like people criticizing their parenting, a lot of people are criticizing like gentle parenting. I feel like I'm going to be a gentle parenter. The gentle parenting that these millennials that do have these feral ass kids, it's not gentle parenting. There is a difference between gentle parenting and just letting your kids step all over you. There's so many books and guides, there's the internet that can show you the do's and don'ts of gentle parenting. You know, you don't have to whoop them with a belt or spank them. Like, probably a lot of us got spanked when we were little. I got spanked a lot, physical beats, so I personally want to break that, and I feel like a lot of people, Gen Z and millennials, want to break that. Average millennial answer is, well, you don't have kids, so you can't judge. Most likely responding to Gen Z.
Let's talk about something. Millennials are raising Gen Alpha, and they're going to be way better than Gen Z, and they're all gonna make fun of you. You look like you're having fun. What are you listening to?
Skibbity Toilet Baby Gronk Phantom Tax remix of Hey There Delilah. Can I do whatever I want, have no respect for anyone else except me?
Well, that's not the best idea. I'm gonna do it anyway. What are you gonna do about it? Nothing, because I'm scared of confrontation. Merp.
People who are criticizing them, or you would give them iPads too if they were crying. And I've seen way too many 12-year-olds on TikTok using retinol cream, mixing chemicals together that would definitely give you a chemical burn regardless if you were like 12, because you're just mixing a bunch of chemicals together.
Gen Alpha has taken over the cosmetic and skincare industry, and parents are puzzled about why their kids are using vitamin C, hyaluronic acids, and chemical exfoliants on their face. It's suggested that what's driving this behavior are child celebrities such as Northwest and Penelope Disick, who are hopping on the Get Ready With Me trend, showing off their skincare products that are most likely their parents. As well, older influencers similar to Alex Earl serve as role models, influencing Gen Alpha with the I want to be them when I grow up mentality. Gen Alpha does not want to be like their favorite Disney stars anymore. They want to be like their favorite influencers. Brands such as Drunk Elephant and Bubble are aware that Gen Alpha is next in terms of buying power, and they are taking full advantage of the opportunity by creating products that are colorful, fruity, and with easy how to use directions. During Christmas, there was an increase of kids wanting products that were over $60. These products are what their parents use. Cosmetics and skincare is not how it used to be back in the 2000s and 90s. Kids used to use makeup to play around with to enhance their looks when they're playing princess or mermaids. Now kids these days know more about skincare than their parents. Foreshadowing the behavior of Gen Alpha, it is noted that they may start having self-esteem issues regarding unrealistic beauty standards, which helps the industry increase their revenues. Based on my observation, I do see as time goes on, they may be the generation that stays away from cosmetics and a heavy skincare routine, considering that what's happening now is just the new phase that girls go through before growing up and preferring a more natural look. Let me know in the comments below if you think that Gen Alpha will have self-esteem issues, or if they will grow out of this and they will be the generation that stays away from these types of products.
Might like prematurely age their skin, and not to mention the amount of money being spent. And everyone's like, well, it's the parents' money, they can do what they want. Yes, they can. However, when we see this kind of epidemic of kids just literally going into Sephora, like why are they going to Sephora? I don't even go into Sephora. I think I've been in Sephora like 5 times in my life. I've bought like 1 or 2 things. When we look at the TikToks that are like talking about these Sephora kids, I will say that it is weird when people are like filming actual kids at Sephora. Like, you should not be filming anyone like that, you know, unless you're being like harassed or you're being stalked or something like that, then I feel like that's different, like if it's for your safety. But if you're like at Sephora purposely seeking out kids, that's a little weird. There's that side of this whole situation. And you know, there are grown people, and people are saying, well, you're a grown woman, why are you picking on children? I don't agree that we should be calling children bitches, because I think people were saying that when some TikToker was calling children bitches, or that they want to physically harm these children, and I've seen comments that are like that. A bit alarming, because yes, we are adults, and yes, these are children. We can still express our frustration with children of this generation, but to like actually comment that you're going to physically harm, or you want to physically harm children when you see them at Sephora, or purposely go to Sephora to harm children, like these are 10-year-old children, okay, 10-year-old children. So I think that part of the situation is weird, and we're kind of losing the plot in that sense. I think we need to go back into like, why did we get here in the first place? Why are there kids in Sephora? Kids are in Sephora now because there's no third spaces for them. Like a lot of people have been saying on TikTok, there's no tween spaces really, and tweens do not want to be tweens anymore. They have no desire of being tweens, no desire of being their age. They literally go from like watching like, what what's a kid's show? To go from watching a kid's show to going to Sephora, to Victoria's Secret, to Old Beat, and they're like 10 years old. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like the shift from 8 to 10 now. Seems like it's getting like sooner that these girls are trying to be older. You know, it's not wrong for young girls to want to be interested in makeup. Of course you're going to be interested in makeup. You see your mom most likely wear makeup. You see people around you wear makeup. You're going to be interested in makeup. There is appropriate makeup for this age of children. However, we are lacking those kind of stores. But there are stores like Target that literally have a children's section that still has lip smackers, has like the little nails that you can do, like little eyeshadow. Like, what happened to like the lip gloss phone? Like, I remember wanting that so bad when I was little. I think I had like 2, and I was so glad when my mom got it for me. I got it as a gift. Or a little chalk for your hair if you want to color your hair, or just like little peel off nail polish. Like, those are things that I feel like are age appropriate, but my parents were super strict, so they give me such a hard time. But normally I would say that's a very age appropriate thing. You know, when as you grow up, it's important to go through those milestones. The same thing is when a baby's an infant, and there's important milestones that the baby has to achieve, because the baby needs to get up on its own, crawl, support itself before it can crawl. So there's all these prerequisites to getting to it being a toddler, to the next stage of life. It's just like none of these tweens want to be their age because they think it's not cool. It's not cool to be a tween. It's not cool to be 10 years old. You want to act like you're 18. You want to act and look like you're 18, because that's when you get like more freedom. That's when people take you seriously. That's when you think everything's gonna be great when you're 18. Despite the lack of third basis for these tweens, you know, a lot of justices have closed down, which is like, a lot of people are like, you know, back in my day when I was growing up, I'd go to Justice. I couldn't afford anything at Justice, but my best friend could. Go to JCPenney, go to Macy's, go to Sears, go to Claire's. I used to beg to go to Claire's. And, you know, all these other stores. Going to the Sanrio store. Going to little stores in the mall. I don't know. When it came to makeup, I feel like a lot of people my age when I was a child kind of shared the same thing. We wanted hand sanitizer from Bath & Body Works. We wanted a Lush bath bomb from Lush. Like, I think every little teenage girl, teen girl, wanted to go to Lush. Get lip balm. Bath and Body Works was a big one because I love the little hand sanitizers. I think every girl at school had that. The reason I feel like why tweens are skipping the tween stage is obviously because of social media and the marketing that these kinds of brands do. It's the same thing with like vapes and how they're kind of targeted and marketed for children with the flavors that they have. No, I think flavors are banned now in California, but they had things like bubblegum. My favorite was matcha. Like, had a bunch of different flavors that obviously would be like, ooh, like a kid would like that, you know, especially when they're cute and they come in different colors. Drunk Elephant has said that it is okay for children to use their product. However, anyone that knows about skincare remotely knows that retinol is not used for a 10-year-old. The only thing a 10-year-old should have and should learn is, yeah, it is good to take care of your skin, to do self-care. It's good to take care of yourself, but don't need all those extra steps yet. And maybe if you keep going with the skincare regimen that you have now, you're starting early, you might not need to have those many steps when you get older. Like, the point of skincare is to take care of your skin, is to not just do it for the sake of doing it. And I think that's what a lot of these young girls are doing, because honestly, I think that they really care about skincare? No. I think it's more so that they can just say that they have their Drunk Elephant, they have their Glow Drops, they have whatever Summer Fridays, whatever it's called, and actually taking care of your skin. Because ultimately, I feel like a lot of these kids, they want to be influencers, and I feel like that's why I put a lot of value on getting these products, because they kind of inflate that with their self-worth and how people are going to view them. And it's like a very shallow way for kids to be growing up, just how to live life in general. And I've seen a lot of TikToks as well of like mothers putting their kids on TikTok and letting them shop around Sephora.
Had a choice between 2 minutes getting anything you wanted or 10 items. Which would you choose?
2 minutes.
Okay, let's go.
Go.
This was a bit of a social experiment.
I wanted to see if she would engage in a Veblen-esque gorge and purchase Drunk Elephant and Glow Recipe because of the colorful packaging. Grace is only 6, so I don't let her watch social media. She does not have her own accounts, and I have no intention to let her be on social media until she's at least 15 or 16. But I was really curious as a marketing girly if these kids are flocking towards these specific products in drones because of how they look, or if it's because of cultural influences and the social validation they get from using them. In 2 minutes, Grace only picked out 4 products: a Charlotte Tilbury highlighter, NARS lipstick, a lip gloss that smelled like watermelon, and something else. And I was a bit disappointed, so I actually let her spend more time shopping. And I was not surprised that she did not gravitate towards the Drunk Elephant. I actually had to steer her in that direction. We did get a Glow Recipe moisturizer, but she just wanted face masks and lip gloss. The 4 items she picked during her 2-minute shopping spree came to $142.51, and then when I let her keep shopping, she spent an additional $248.86.
You're using your children for a trending topic that you know is trending, despite knowing that most likely a lot of people aren't going to have nice comments to say, because you're part of the problem if you're just letting your kids just run rampant around Sephora and pick up things that they don't even need, or showing them the space that they should not even be in. However, if they're with parents and the parent, for whatever reason, lets them get something, it should be age appropriate. But obviously, the kids that a lot of people are talking about, these kids are not with their parents, and they have their daddy's credit cards because daddy doesn't want to deal with them crying, mommy doesn't want to deal with them crying. So what do? Drop them off at the mall, let them go with their friends, go into whatever store, whether it's Victoria's Secret or whatever, Sephora, and just let them do whatever they want, because they'd rather have them shut up, be happy with what they got, even though they're gonna ask to go like literally every week, not deal with them crying or having hissy fit. And I just don't agree in general of putting children online, especially in that sense with these momfluencers that put their children online. There are so many reasons as to why you should not put your child online. It's a whole different video. So many exploitative things. Your child cannot consent to being online. They're under the age of 18. How can they? They don't understand the repercussions of what's going to happen. I'm one of these moms that posted a TikTok was like, oh, well, I don't let her have social media. But you're putting her on TikTok to like your 100,000 followers plus whoever stumbles upon it on the For You page. How does that doesn't make any sense to me. If you don't want your child having social media, they should not be on social media. Some of these momfluencers are just like insane to me. With the death of the preteen, I feel like it's just a downward spiral. I feel like something that could be probably a positive thing is if Sephora open other stores for this demographic, maybe make it a little older, maybe like high school or college influencers, and have like little stores for that, or even like a section for them in a Sephora store. Maybe it could be their third space and they could have a section in there. That's one thing I think that could happen, that could kind of solve this problem. There are always going to be kids that are rowdy, don't follow the rules, don't respect their parents. However, the amount of kids that it just seems like this generation in general, just from every facet you can think of, this generation of Gen Alpha is just not doing well. And it's kind of scary because these are the people that are gonna have to eventually be doctors, be lawyers, be educational providers, do things, to make our world still go round and so we could still have an economy. So it's kind of scary thinking of it like that. And I know it sounds a bit traumatic, but it's very worrisome. What each generation does matter. How each generation does in socially, economically, human rights wise, what their perspective generally is, educational. It is a big deal because it affects the generation after them, also before them. I don't know why Gen Alpha is just not clicking with the fact that they are important, and not in an egotistical way. And like a lot of them, I feel like, think of themselves. I feel like they don't think it's important for them to do what they need to do, whether it's respecting your parents, doing your homework, respecting your teachers, doing things outside of wanting to be an influencer. And I feel like it's fine if you want to be an influencer, that's fine. However, like, college isn't for everyone, some things aren't for everyone, but the majority of kids now just want to be, I don't want to say just be an influencer, but they think that this is super attainable and you're gonna make money right away. They don't understand the concept of you have to grow a platform and you need to do it in an organic way and you need to market yourself. You need to do this and you need to do that. It's literally a business. For a lot of them, they want to start young, and that is a danger because we see how celebrity kids, specifically Disney Channel, have talked about their trauma, the abuse, Nickelodeon, Jeanette McCurdy, and all of that stuff. So it's a very kind of tricky situation, and most of the blame should be on the parent. Definitely should be on the parents. And you know, I won't defend the kids will be kids thing, because kids will be kids, but even then, kids knew better because their parents taught them better for the most part. And it's just like there's this weird disconnect that like parents don't want to be parents, they want to be their kids like best friend. And I think you can be a parent and your kid's best friend. I want to be my baby's best friend. Also, let them know that I am their parent. I'm going to guide them. I'm going to let them know when something's not okay and why something doesn't benefit them. And I don't think that these kids are having those conversations with their parents, because how can they when the parents are working like 3 jobs? Ultimately, we just gotta see how this generation turns out. I know how I'm going to parent my baby, and it really starts at home. It starts on an individual basis. Take it seriously, because these kids are our future. They're gonna determine how our world is going to look. So I think that's the end of this video. I know it was kind of a long one, but let me know what you guys think in comments, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
You can't feel a single thing. Say you didn't feel it when you kissed me. Why you got red cheeks then, huh? What you